Hey, I'm Sarah. Before I dive into my story, don't forget to like and subscribe to hear more about how I navigated one of the toughest nights of my life, an experience that completely changed everything for me. Thanks for tuning in. The evening was meant to be a celebration, hosted at Mrs. Whitmore's lavish home. The setting was perfect, with crystal chandeliers casting a warm glow over the fine china that adorned the table. It was a joyous family dinner, or so I thought. I was eager to share the news of my recent promotion, a significant step up in my marketing career. I remember smoothing out my dress and taking a deep breath, ready to reveal my achievement, expecting smiles and congratulations. As the appetizers were served, I leaned towards my husband Tom and whispered, "I have some great news." He nodded, encouraging me to continue. Turning to the family, I announced, "I've been promoted to senior marketing director." But instead of applause, I was met with a chilling silence. Mrs. Whitmore's eyes narrowed, her lips pressing into a thin line. She leaned towards Tom and hissed just loud enough for me to hear. "Is this what we raised him for?" To be overshadowed by his wife's career. Tom, who had always been supportive, seemed to shrink under his mother's gaze. His smile faded, and he withdrew his hand from mine under the table. I tried to salvage the moment, saying, "It's a great opportunity for us, Tom. The raise is substantial." But Mrs. Whitmore cut across the table, her voice dripping with disapproval. "What about starting a family, Sarah? Do you think money can replace the joy of children?" Tom joined in, his tone suddenly cold. "Yeah, Sarah, when are you planning to settle down a bit? This career isn't everything." I felt a sting, not just from his words, but from the betrayal in his voice. "I thought you were proud of me," I responded, my voice trembling. The main course was served, and the conversation shifted to other topics. But the tension simmered, much like the pot roast on our plates. Tom's demeanor grew increasingly hostile, mirroring his mother's disapproving frowns. Dessert had just been placed on the table when Tom abruptly stood, throwing his napkin down. "You should know your place, Sarah. You're my wife, not my competitor." His voice boomed through the dining room. I stood up, my heart pounding. "Being your wife doesn't mean I have to give up on my dreams, Tom. I deserve respect, not this." Then, in a flash that still plays out in my nightmares, Tom raised his hand and struck me across the face. The sound echoed, a sharp crack that silenced the room. I stood frozen, hand to my cheek, as pain spread and every pair of eyes at the table stared in stunned silence. Without a word, I turned, my chair scraping loudly against the hardwood floor. I walked steadily to the foyer, my mind racing. The echo of my heels on the marble floor marked the drumbeat of my escape. I grabbed my purse, not bothering to look back, and stepped out into the cool night air. The door closed behind me with a soft click, signifying the end of one chapter and the terrifying start of another. At that moment, I knew my marriage was over. I had to leave to find my place where ambition wasn't a sin. I needed to breathe, to find myself again after being lost in someone else's shadow. As I drove away, the house shrinking in my rearview mirror, I felt a mix of fear and relief. I was alone, truly alone, but for the first time in a long time, I felt a spark of something fierce and bright, freedom. It was the beginning of a new journey, and I was ready to see where it would lead me. Waking up in my small sunlit apartment the next morning felt like the first day of a new life. The events of the previous night seemed both distant and painfully fresh. My phone buzzed continuously with messages of concern and confusion from friends who had heard whispers of the incident. I ignored them, focusing on what needed to be done. The first thing I did was call a recommended divorce attorney. "I need to file for divorce," I said firmly as soon as the call connected. "It's urgent." "Understood," the attorney replied. "I'll prepare the initial paperwork. Can you come in this afternoon to go over the details?" "Yes, I'll be there." Hanging up, I felt a small, victorious thrill. There was no going back now. At work, I tried to maintain a semblance of normalcy, though my mind was elsewhere. My boss, Mr. Daniels, noticed my distraction. "Everything all right, Sarah?" "I'm dealing with some personal issues, but I'll manage." "Thank you. If you need time off." "No, I'd rather keep busy." "Thanks." He nodded, understanding. "Let me know if you need anything." Grateful, I dived into my work. The familiar tasks were a welcome distraction, and my colleagues were supportive, making it easier to breathe amidst the chaos of my personal life. "Heard about last night, Sarah. Are you okay?" "Jenna, One of my closest friends at work asked. It's been tough, Jenna, but I'll get through it. You're stronger than you think. And hey, if you need a place to crash or just hang out, my door is always open. Thanks, Jenna. I might take you up on that. Drinks after work? My treat, she said with a smile. That evening, over drinks, Jenna and I talked about everything. Despite the turmoil in my crumbling marriage, I found relief in moments of laughter and normalcy, even if just for a few hours. When I finally returned to my apartment, I checked my phone. Several missed calls from Tom. I debated whether to call him back, but decided against it. Instead, I sent a text. I filed for divorce. Please respect my space during this time. His reply was immediate, filled with desperation. Can we talk about this, please, Sarah? I didn't mean. I responded firmly. I need space, Tom. Good night. As I put away my phone, a mix of emotions swirled within me: sadness, relief, anger. But above all, determination. I was free now, or at least on the path to freedom. Looking around my sparse but cozy apartment, I felt a deep sense of peace. This was my space, my sanctuary. No one here could hurt me. I thought about Tom, about how his own choices, influenced by his mother's toxic views, had led him to this point. He had isolated himself from the person who had stood by him all these years. It was sad, really, how he had let his better judgment be clouded. But that was no longer my problem to solve. That night, as I lay in bed, I realized I was no longer just surviving. I was stepping into a phase of life where I could finally start living. Tomorrow, I would be stronger, and the day after, even more so. This was just the beginning, and I was ready for whatever came next. As my career soared to new heights, I became deeply involved in larger, more impactful marketing campaigns. My network expanded as I connected with influential figures in the industry, hosting webinars and leading workshops that highlighted my expertise and leadership. One busy Monday morning, while reviewing campaign proposals, my phone buzzed. A call from Lisa, a well-known industry contact. Sarah, I heard through the grapevine about your personal situation. I'm sorry you had to go through that, Lisa began, her tone sympathetic yet professional. Thanks, Lisa. It's been tough, but I'm managing. Listen, I've been thinking. There's an opening for a conference speaker next month. The topic is resilience in leadership. I believe your experience, both professional and personal, would really resonate. What do you think? The offer took me by surprise, but it was an opportunity I couldn't pass up. I'd be honored, Lisa. Thank you. As my reputation grew, so did the whispers about Tom's behavior. It wasn't long before these murmurs reached the ears of those who once respected him. During a routine industry meetup, I overheard snippets of conversations about Tom. He's looking for work again, one executive muttered to another. After what he did to Sarah, who would hire him? The other replied, shaking his head. Meanwhile, Tom struggled in his professional world, a stark contrast to my thriving career. He tried to reach out several times, attempting to repair his tarnished image. One afternoon, I received a text from him. Can we meet? I need your help. Against my better judgment, I agreed to a brief coffee meetup. Sarah, I'm sorry. I was wrong, Tom started, his voice low. I've lost so much. I can't find work anywhere. It's like all the doors are closed. I'm not in a position to rewrite the past, Tom. You made certain choices, and now you're facing the consequences. But you could help me. Talk to people. Tell them I've changed. The professional community talks, Tom. They know what happened. It's not just my story anymore. It's about the choices you made. Leaving the cafe, I felt a mixture of pity and resolve. Tom was learning a hard lesson about respect and consequences, one he had brought upon himself. Back at work, I dove into my projects with renewed vigor, determined to use my experiences to empower others. It was a bittersweet realization that sometimes personal trials could lead to professional triumphs. But as I looked ahead to new projects and opportunities, I knew I had made the right choices for myself, forging a path that was true to my values and my vision for the future. With the finalization of my divorce, it felt like I could finally exhale after holding my breath for so long. This new chapter wasn't just about moving on. It was about taking everything I'd learned and using it to fuel my future. At work, my role expanded beyond my day-to-day responsibilities. I started a mentorship program for young women in marketing, driven by my own experiences of overcoming adversity. It was during one of these mentorship sessions that I met Ava, a bright and ambitious intern who reminded me so much of myself at that age. During one of our mentorship sessions, Ava looked at me with curiosity in her eyes, her notebook ready. Sarah, how do you handle criticism, especially from those who think you don't belong? I smiled encouragingly. You listen, you learn, and then you let your work speak for itself. Never let anyone's doubt become your reality. Use it as fuel to push harder. Ava nodded, scribbling down notes. And what if it's really tough? She asked. Then you reach out. Lean on your network, find mentors, and never be afraid to ask for help. We're stronger together, I emphasized. The mentorship program wasn't the only highlight of my life. My social circle had also expanded. I was frequently invited to speak at industry events and social gatherings where I shared my journey. At one such event, a networking dinner for leading marketing professionals, I was approached by Derek, a former colleague who had heard about my recent achievements. Sarah, I must say, your talk was inspiring. How do you keep pushing forward after everything? Derek asked, his admiration evident. It's about not letting your past define your future, I responded, accepting the compliment with a nod. Every challenge is a stepping stone to something greater. Our conversation soon shifted from casual to a deeper discussion about potential collaborations. Sarah, have you ever considered writing a book? Your story could inspire so many, Derek suggested. The idea intrigued me, and by the end of the night, I had exchanged contact information with a publisher who was also at the event. It seemed like every social interaction opened a new door, a testament to how far I'd come. As my professional and personal growth continued, so did my confidence. I hosted workshops, led campaigns, and became a voice for resilience and empowerment in the marketing world. Each speaking engagement and workshop felt like I was not just sharing my knowledge but also healing myself, turning past pains into lessons for others. After a long day of back-to-back events, I lay in bed, reflecting on how much my life had transformed. I was no longer the woman who sat at that dinner table silently suffering. I was a leader, a mentor, and a survivor who had turned her trials into triumphs. This wasn't just a new beginning. It was a vibrant, fulfilling continuation of a journey that I was proud to claim as my own. Months passed, and the echoes of my past with Tom had largely faded into a quiet murmur, overshadowed by the vibrant life I was leading. Yet one afternoon, during a coffee meetup with a mutual friend, Melissa, those old echoes stirred back to life. Sarah, Tom's been asking about you, Melissa said cautiously. He's really struggling. Says he regrets everything. I sipped my coffee, considering her words. People often regret when they feel the consequences of their actions, I replied evenly. He wants to talk, maybe apologize. He seems sincere, Sarah. Melissa, I appreciate you telling me, but that part of my life is over. I've moved on, I said with finality. Melissa nodded, understanding the firmness in my voice. We changed the subject, leaving Tom's regrets where they belonged, in the past. Despite Tom's attempts to reach out through messages and calls, I remained firm in my decision to keep my distance. Each attempt was met with silence from my end. It wasn't out of spite, but out of a necessity for my well-being. My journey had taught me the importance of boundaries and self-respect. In the months that followed, my professional life flourished even more. I spoke at conferences, led innovative marketing campaigns, and watched my mentorship program grow. The impact I was making felt real and fulfilling. My story, shared on platforms and in workshops, resonated with many, becoming a beacon for those navigating their own battles against adversity. One evening, reflecting on the past year, I realized the depth of my transformation. I had not just survived, I had thrived, crafting a life rich in success and significance. The knowledge that Tom was out there, regretting his choices, was not a source of satisfaction, but a somber reminder of the consequences of disrespecting and undermining others. As I closed my journal, filled with plans and reflections, I felt a profound sense of peace. My past with Tom had catalyzed a journey of empowerment and achievement. My triumph wasn't found in his downfall, but in my rise, in my unyielding resolve to turn pain into power, and in my dedication to live a life defined by my values and visions. As we conclude this story, I'd love to hear from you. Do you think Sarah was justified in completely cutting Tom out of her life? Share your thoughts below, and if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more. Hi there, I'm Antonella, a 32-year-old thriving in the interior design world. I thought I had the perfect family until everything changed when my brother Jake met Vanessa. Antonella, you won't believe it. I've met the most amazing woman. Jake gushed over the phone. I was thrilled for him. Jake and I have always been close, sharing everything. Our parents raised us to be a tight-knit family, always having each other's backs. Fast forward 3 months, and Jake drops a bombshell. We're getting married. I nearly choked on my coffee. Married? Jake, you barely know her. But he was head over heels. The wedding was a whirlwind, and suddenly I had a sister-in-law. At first, Vanessa seemed charming, full of smiles and politeness. But something felt off. During a family dinner, I noticed how she subtly steered conversations. Oh, Antonella, still single. Don't worry, you'll find someone eventually, she'd say, always with a smile, always with a hint of judgment. I brushed it off, but the comments kept coming, cloaked in sweetness but laced with criticism. One day, while helping Mom in the kitchen, I overheard Vanessa talking to Jake. Honey, don't you think Antonella's job is a bit unstable? I'm just worried about her future. My blood boiled. I had built my business from the ground up, and it was thriving. Things got worse at Jake's birthday party. Vanessa accidentally spilled wine on my new dress. Oh, I'm so clumsy, but don't worry. It probably wasn't that expensive, right? She said. I forced a smile, but inside, I was seething. Later that night, I vented to my best friend Megan. I'm telling you, Meg, something's not right with Vanessa. Megan nodded. I've noticed it too. The way she looks at you when she thinks no one's watching, like she's sizing up the competition. I sighed, but Jake's so happy, and Mom and Dad adore her. Am I just being paranoid? Trust your gut, Antonella, Megan said. Keep your eyes open. And so I did. I watched as Vanessa slowly warmed her way into every aspect of our family life. She'd volunteer to help Dad with his finances, critiquing his methods, and reorganize Mom's kitchen, claiming it was more efficient. But it was her effect on Jake that worried me the most. My once outgoing brother became quieter, always deferring to Vanessa's opinions. During a shopping trip with Mom, I tried to broach the subject. Mom, have you noticed anything different about Jake lately? She hesitated. Well, he's a married man now. Change is normal. But Mom, it's like he's not even the same person anymore. Oh, sweetie, you're just not used to sharing him. Give it time. But time only made things worse. Family gatherings became minefields of passive-aggressive comments and tense silences. I tried to keep the peace, biting my tongue when Vanessa made snide remarks, but the stress was getting to me. My design suffered, and I started losing sleep. One night, after a particularly brutal family dinner where Vanessa subtly criticized everything from my outfit to my latest project, I broke down in my apartment. The phone rang. It was Megan. Antonella, are you okay? You seemed off at dinner. I couldn't hold back anymore. Everything spilled out, my suspicions, my fears, the way Vanessa was slowly isolating Jake from us. Megan listened, then said firmly, Enough is enough, Antonella. It's time to start digging. There's more to Vanessa than meets the eye, and we're going to find out what it is. As I hung up, I felt a mix of determination and dread. I love my family, and I'd do anything to protect them, even if it meant exposing the wolf in sheep's clothing that had infiltrated our lives. Little did I know, things were about to get much, much worse. The annual family barbecue at my parents' house was supposed to be a day of relaxation and bonding. Instead, it turned into a nightmare I'll never forget. Everyone was gathered in the backyard, Dad at the grill, Mom setting out salads, and Jake helping Vanessa with her chair. I was chatting with my cousin when Vanessa's voice cut through the chatter. Antonella, sweetie, could you grab me a drink? You're not doing anything important, right? I was about to respond. When Mom called everyone to eat, the tension was already simmering. Throughout the meal, Vanessa kept making little digs. This potato salad is delicious, Mom. Much better than the store-bought one Antonella brought last time. I saw red. At least I contribute something, Vanessa. What exactly do you bring to these gatherings besides criticism? The table fell silent. Vanessa's eyes narrowed. Well, I bring class, for one thing, something you clearly lack. Before I could stop myself, I shot back class. Is that what you call being a manipulative b? Antonella. Jake interrupted, shocked. Vanessa stood up, tears welling in her eyes. I can't believe you'd say such things after everything I've done for this family. She stormed off, Jake following close behind. I sat there fuming as my parents gave me disappointed looks. Later, as I was helping clean up, Vanessa cornered me in the kitchen. Listen here, you little nobody. Jake is mine now, and soon this whole family will see you for the jealous, pathetic person you are. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. You're delusional, Vanessa. That's when she grabbed a fistful of my hair, yanking hard. Am I? Let's see what Jake thinks about his precious sister now. She dragged me by the hair into the living room, where Jake was talking with Dad. Jake, look what your sister did. She attacked me. Vanessa cried. Jake's eyes widened in disbelief. Antonella, what the hell? I tried to explain, but Vanessa's crocodile tears drowned me out. I think you should leave, Antonella. Now. I left, humiliated and angry. The next day, Megan came over, finding me still in yesterday's clothes, surrounded by ice cream containers. That's it. We're not letting her get away with this. It's time to fight back. Over the next week, Megan helped me start digging into Vanessa's past. We found discrepancies in her stories. The college she claimed to attend had no record of her, and the company she said she worked for didn't exist. Then luck struck. While grabbing coffee, I bumped into Sarah, who introduced herself as Vanessa's former coworker. Oh, you know Vanessa? How is she, still ruining lives? My eyes widened. What do you mean? Sarah spilled everything. Vanessa had a history of workplace bullying, manipulating coworkers and bosses alike. She'd even gotten Sarah fired by planting evidence of theft. Be careful, Sarah warned. Vanessa's dangerous when cornered. I left the cafe, my mind reeling. I had proof now, proof that Vanessa wasn't who she claimed to be. But as I reached for my phone to call Jake, I hesitated. Would he even believe me? Or would this just drive him further away? As I stood there, torn between protecting my brother and preserving what was left of our relationship, I realized this was just the beginning. Vanessa's mask had slipped, and now I had to decide just how far I was willing to go to expose the truth. After weeks of internal debate, I finally made the call. Mike, a private investigator recommended by a client, agreed to meet me at a quiet coffee shop. So you want me to dig into your sister-in-law's past? He asked, glancing at the folder I pushed across the table. Here's everything I've found so far, but I need more, I replied. Mike whistled as he flipped through the pages. Lady, your sister-in-law's got more red flags than a Chinese parade. I'll see what I can do. 2 weeks later, Mike called with news that made my blood run cold. Antonella, your sister-in-law isn't just a liar. She's a professional con artist. Multiple identities, fraud charges in 3 states, and get this, she's been using your brother's business to launder money. My hands shook as I processed the information. How? How is she doing that? Fake invoices, ghost employees, the works. Your brother's company is a ticking time bomb. I thanked Mike and hung up, my mind racing. I had to tell Jake, but how? Before I could decide, my phone buzzed with a text from Mom. Family dinner tonight. Vanessa insists. Please come. Great, just great. The tension at dinner was thick enough to cut with a knife. Vanessa was all smiles. Her eyes were cold when they landed on me. Jake, honey, tell them about our vacation plans, Vanessa said with a tight smile. Jake cleared his throat. Well, we're thinking of taking an extended trip, maybe 6 months. I nearly choked on my wine. 6 months? What about the business? Vanessa's smile tightened. Oh, Jake can run things remotely, right, sweetie? I saw the puppet strings, but Jake just nodded along. After dinner, I cornered Jake in the kitchen. This trip, are you sure about this? He sighed. Antonella, please. Vanessa thinks it'll be good for us to have some time away from everything. I bit my tongue, realizing how deep Vanessa's claws were dug in. Over the next few days, I reached out to Sarah and other victims I had discovered. We formed a support group, sharing stories and evidence. We need to stop her, Sarah insisted during one of our meetings, before she ruins more lives. I nodded, a plan forming. I think I know how. I spent the next week preparing, gathering every shred of evidence. But Vanessa wasn't stupid. She must have sensed something was up. One evening, as I was leaving my office, I found my car tires slashed. A note on the windshield read, "Back off, or next time it won't be just the tires." I called Megan, my hands shaking. She knows Megan. Vanessa knows I'm onto her. Megan's voice was steely. Then we move now, before she can do any more damage. I agreed, setting the plan in motion. I called my parents, Jake, and extended family. Emergency family meeting tomorrow night. It's about Jake's safety. As I hung up, doubt crept in. Was I doing the right thing? What if this backfired? But then I remembered Jake's defeated look and how Vanessa had manipulated everyone around her. No, this had to be done. The next day dragged on forever. I triple-checked my evidence and rehearsed what I'd say. As evening approached, I received a text from Jake. Vanessa's not feeling well. We might not make it. My heart sank. Of course, she tried to avoid this. I texted back, please, Jake, it's important. I wouldn't ask if it wasn't. Hours passed with no response. I was about to give up hope when I heard a car pull up outside my apartment. I peeked out the window. Jake was helping Vanessa out of the car. She looked pale, leaning on him dramatically. As Jake and Vanessa entered my apartment, the tension was palpable. My parents, Megan, Sarah, and a few other faces were already there. Vanessa clearly didn't expect this. What's going on? Jake asked, confusion evident in his voice. I took a deep breath. Jake, everyone, it's time you knew the truth about Vanessa. Vanessa's eyes narrowed. Antonella, you're being ridiculous. But I cut her off, pulling out a stack of documents. Vanessa, or should I say Amanda, or maybe Lisa? How many identities do you have? Jake's face paled as I laid out the evidence. The charges, the stolen identities, the money laundering through his business. Sarah and the others shared their stories of Vanessa's manipulation and deceit. Vanessa tried to interject, her voice rising hysterically. They're lying. Jake, baby, you know me. But Jake's disbelief was turning to anger. Is it true? Have you been using my company to launder money? Vanessa's mask finally cracked. Her sweet demeanor vanished, replaced by cold fury. You're all idiots. Jake, you were so easy to manipulate, and the rest of you are pathetic. Mom gasped. Dad's fists clenched, and Jake looked utterly broken. Vanessa made a dash for the door, but Sarah blocked her path. Not so fast. The police are on their way. The next few hours were a blur. Vanessa was arrested, screaming threats as she was led away. Jake sat silently, processing everything. Days turned into weeks. Jake filed for divorce and worked tirelessly to save his business from the mess Vanessa had created. I was by his side every step of the way. Months later, as we celebrated the successful relaunch of Jake's company, he pulled me aside. Antonella, I'm sorry I didn't believe you sooner. Thank you for not giving up on me. I hugged him tight, feeling our bond stronger than ever. As I looked around at my family, now free from Vanessa's toxic influence, I realized the importance of trusting your instincts and standing up to those who tried to tear you down. It wasn't easy, but it was worth it. We were free, we were together, and we were stronger for having weathered this storm. And that's the end of Antonella's story. Now, I have a question for you. If you discovered your sibling's spouse was a criminal, would you expose them or keep quiet to protect your sibling's happiness? What's more important, family peace or justice? Drop your thoughts in the comments. This is a tough one, and I'm really curious to hear what you do. If you enjoyed this wild ride, smash that like button.